by me. Make living life be highly spoken of. My only love, the only one. You're my wifey. Make my life complete, sweet. No one waits with this dream. Freak. Everyone that come to me. See, that's why you're my wifey. Hey Nurse Fam, and welcome back to the Nurse Nook. So I get a ton of questions, not only on YouTube but on my Instagram and in emails of how do you become a nurse. I get a lot of these from not only high school students but even women and men in their adult careers that have already gone through schooling or have been in a solidified career and want a change of heart. So I'm gonna tell you guys how to become a nurse step by step and how I became a nurse specifically. So let's start back in high school. So I get a lot of questions on recommendations on what you should do in high school and how you should prepare to be a nurse in high school. And honestly, my advice for that is just to take it easy. Generally with high school, there's not a lot of options that are offered for students that are interested in nursing, but I know a few schools that my friends have went to, and some schools like that I just heard of that offer like CNA prep classes and train students to become CNAs, and they offer things like anatomy, biology, medical terminology. I always suggest if your high school has any of those courses, definitely go ahead and take those, because that will help you prepare for not only nursing, but I will help you prepare for nursing school as well. It'll help the transition easier. My next recommendation would be to find colleges with nursing programs that are reputable, nursing programs that are well respected in your area or wherever you want to go. Honestly, the most important thing is that they're accredited. If you know like you can't go to X, Y, and Z school and this is your only option, as long as they're accredited, honestly, who cares? Because 9 times out of 10, unless you're up against like a large amount of people and everyone else is like a Harvard grad or something like that, I don't know, jobs aren't really going to care too much about where you graduated from as long as you have your degree. So once you graduate nursing school, there's kind of 2 different options on how to become a registered nurse. There's really 3, but I'm only going to talk about 2 because one of them is called diploma nursing, and that's kind of being phased out and it's not really relevant anymore, and there's very few diploma programs, so I'm not going to speak too much about that. So once you get into school, there are 2 options you can do. You can do your ADN, which is Associate's Degree in Nursing, or your BSN, which is the Bachelor of Science in Nursing. The ADN is a 2-year program, generally, sometimes 2, sometimes 3, depending on how fast you do it, and the BSN is a 4-year degree. I always recommend that if able to, that people do the 4-year BSN degree, because more and more hospitals are moving towards magnet degree and only hiring nurses with their BSN, and you look way more competitive having your BSN versus just your ADN. Not saying that you can't get a job with your ADN, you definitely can, but it would probably be a lot easier if you had your BSN. I think that's why it was easy for me to get a job in the ED as a new grad, especially because I did only have my ADN when I was applying, but I was in a concurrent program. So the job I was applying to saw that I was currently in school for my BSN, and that's what they wanted. So not only is it important to have your BSN to allow you to get a job easier, but if you have any kind of motivation to move up in the clinical ladder, you know, make more money, maybe be an educator, a manager, charge nurse, anything like that, having your BSN definitely sets you up for those positions, because they want people with continuing education. Next is they were gonna want everybody with a master's degree. So if you can get it now, I would say definitely just go for the BSN while you can. Okay, so while you're applying to colleges, this is where it could get a little bit confusing sometimes for most people, and I get a lot of questions on this too. So there are some colleges that offer a direct admit program for nursing school, which means that when you apply as a freshman, you can also apply to be in the nursing program, but you won't start that until your sophomore year if this is a BSN 4-year program. So I know a school that I went to FAU down in South Florida, and they started this like 2 years after I already started. I'm like, really, y'all? Like, I could apply to this. Anyways, so freshmen could apply, or prospective students could apply to the direct admit program, which would solidify their spot in the nursing program without having to go through prereqs and then apply. So before even starting prereqs, they would be essentially accepted into the program. And I know a few schools that actually do this. But the more traditional way of doing it is you would start college, you would go through your prerequisites, which is 2 years for BSN, 1 year, 1.5 for ADN. And then at the end of your prerequisites is when you apply to nursing school. And this is kind of like the part that makes a lot of people nervous, because if you don't get in, a lot of people feel like, well, then what do I do, you know, for the time being? Which is a valid question. If you're worried about like wasting time in school, I would go ahead and pick up a major. If you didn't get into the program and you're waiting to be waitlisted or waiting to get in, waiting for the next round of applications, I would pick up a minor. You know, that always looks super good on your resume to have a minor on top of your major. It makes you look like determined and just like you have your stuff together, you know? So once you're in nursing school, the first probably 1 or 2 semesters, depending on what school you go to, you're going to be in class, doing lecture, going to lab and stuff. And after that is when you go to clinicals. I was in like an ADN, like my hybrid program, my ADN and BSN program. So, and I started in summer. So we were in crunch time. The program was like squished. So we had to do everything like quicker. So I actually started clinicals my first semester, but some programs don't start their clinicals until like second or third. So first semester I was already in clinicals. So you can expect to be in clinicals at least by your second semester, maybe third, depending on where you go. So while you're in nursing school and going through clinicals, you're going to go through a series of tests, whether it's HESI or ATI. I took the ATI courses. You're going to finish nursing school. You're going to graduate nursing school. And this is the important part. This is the part that means everything. Without this, you can't even be a nurse. Is your NCLEX. The NCLEX is the licensure exam to be an RN. Every state has a different NCLEX, I guess you could say. But when you're taking the generic NCLEX, you are only certified for your state. So I am a Florida resident. When I graduated nursing school, I took the Florida NCLEX nursing exam. So I am only registered to work as a nurse in Florida. Like, I cannot move to Texas and work as a nurse without doing additional paperwork / maybe testing. Once you finish, there's like I honestly, the name is slipping my mind, but there's something you can do. I think it's like a compound, something like that, that you can apply for that will allow you to work in multiple states. I guess I kind of should have said this before. Let me take a couple steps backwards. It is possible to apply for jobs before you pass your NCLEX. Let me say this again. You can apply for jobs before you pass your NCLEX. And please do, especially while you're in nursing school. I had already secured my job NCLEX pending 2 months before I even took my NCLEX. You don't have to have your license already. You don't have to pass your NCLEX to be able to apply for jobs and go on interviews. These hospitals that you're applying to, or whatever it is, know that you're a new grad and you still have to take your NCLEX. So they do what's called like a pending hire. So if I were not to pass my NCLEX, I would either be pushed back until I could take it again, or they would just decline the offer, which honestly helps motivate you more to study for the NCLEX, because you're like, shoot, like I have this job, I need to start now, like I need to study my butt off so I can pass this NCLEX and take this job offer. I feel like I'm serving like super Pocahontas vibes with this little neck thing that I'm wearing. I'm very in touch with my culture today. Okay, so anyways, where was I? Okay, jobs. So I always suggest to apply like a month before you graduate. That's when I started applying, and I went on my interview for my job about 3 weeks before I graduated, and I was offered the job the next day. So don't feel like you have to graduate and have your NCLEX done and have your license already before you graduate. That is not true. I mean, sorry, before you apply. That is not true at all. You can definitely apply to jobs without having your NCLEX, and please do, because you're competing against so many people. Like, especially if you're applying in your area and you live in a town where there's a lot of nursing schools and you guys all graduate around the same time every year, you're up against a lot of competition, so get on the ball, like get the ball rolling, apply as soon as you possibly can. So once you apply and you have your job solidified, you are an RN, guys. So that is basically how you become an RN in a quick little nutshell. Very short, very sweet, just to let you guys know about the process, because I know a lot of people have questions on how everything works and how do they do it and how did I do it, and that is essentially exactly how I did it. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. That is the end of my video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.